Hey there, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of Hollow Weekly with another segment of How Low Can You Go, where we start at 59% on Rotten Tomatoes and work our way down 1 percentage point at a time until we can't go down any further, until we hit the rock bottom of films that just suck. And so far, so good.
Until we hit 0%,
Until we hit zero,
or give up,
Right. We can't go to the minus percentage because it's not a thing.
No. So we're at 45%, which means we're pretty far into the series now.
Yes.
And I was dreading getting this far, but no worries, because so far so good. These movies have been great.
Yeah, I haven't had an issue. I've actually enjoyed every film we've watched, and usually most of them, not all of them. We're using Rotten Tomatoes as sort of the gauge, and to like it or hate it, we're using it because it's a combination of everything. And
well, yeah, but that's the thing, is the point of this is to show that film critics don't do right by horror, and you don't find a better example of that than the ones that get featured on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, here's why I brought that up. Most of them are rotten from the critics' point of view, but have an audience fresh rating.
Yes.
This one is very, and I'm sure there's others like that, but I just haven't paid attention. This one is 45% from the critics, 47% by the fans.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
This movie's more divisive than I thought it was. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. It's got a 3.1 out of 5 average with a 310,958 user ratings.
All right, well, let's end the suspense. Let's tell the kids what we're watching, because we haven't said yet.
Oh, well, The Strangers.
Why are you doing
this episode? Because you're here. You're at 45%. That's why. So let's just jump right into it. This is one of my favorite horror films of all time. I was excited that we had this on the list. I'm still sad and don't completely understand where it stands on the review, but to each his own.
Can I throw a weird thought experiment at you before we dive into The Strangers? I was thinking about this right before we were recording. I have this weird hunch that if we had gone up for How Low Can We Go and made it How High Can We Go, and we'd started at 60% and gone up, I had a feeling by 15 movies in, we would have watched something that we would not have liked.
Yeah.
It's weird, but if we'd gone the opposite direction, I feel like we would have felt safe and been like, oh, we haven't seen that, but it's got a great score, so, whatever. And yeah, this is brought a bunch of movies I haven't watched before into my life, but this is not one of them. You and I had both seen this before.
Yeah.
We both liked it.
I watched it this morning when I woke up. I was like, oh God, I have 2 hours to watch this film before I got to do some photography things. And part of me kind of dreaded watching this movie in the morning. It's going to scare the shit out of me.
I think that's so to the credit of this movie. You messaged me, you're like, I'm watching this morning. I'm like, oh shit, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
It's a bad way to start your day with this movie, but right? That's good.
It's a good fucking film. So, starting from the beginning, I started doing this with all the movies. I take my notes as I watch the film. I just have thoughts and I just write them down and things that I notice. And starting from the beginning of the film, I like how it sort of has that Texas Chainsaw style of opening, where it's warning you that these events happened. No, they haven't concluded it or anything like that. Bad shit's happened, and you're about to go into this world.
Mm-hmm.
I love that style of opening.
I actually really liked the pan across the houses. I thought that was a really cool shot. And then to open after that with the kids finding the bodies, I felt I remember the first time I watched it, I felt almost a little panicked. There's something about the way this movie starts itself out that is just you feel it's not fucking around, you're in for something rough.
It's letting you know that rough seas are ahead.
Yes, exactly. Did you know this director did The Monster? from last year.
No.
That was one of my underdog favorite movies from last year that didn't get a lot of attention. So,
Oh shit.
I'm really, really for this guy now. Like, I had no idea that he hasn't directed much. He's produced a couple things. But he's, as far as I'm concerned, he's 2 for 2. It's pretty damn good.
Yeah, I like the film, and one of my, just going down my list here is I loved how, well, my notes says it's pretty cool how right off the bat something ain't right.
Yeah.
So they warn you with like the Texas Chainsaw style, like these events happened on a certain date, blah 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 blah, and then it cuts to the two leads, and instantly you're like, I got hooked instantly. I was like, oh shit, what's going on? What happened? Did someone cheat on someone? Someone probably cheated on someone. No, someone didn't cheat on someone. Nah, they don't love each other anymore. Oh, this is sad. He was gonna propose to her. Ah, shit.
What's really cool is that these guys are believable adults. Like Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman they're a believable couple, and I think it's amazing to me. Like we were just talking about this the other day about like juxtaposing this with other home invasion movies. Like You're Next is a great movie, and it's super fun, but like Sharni Vincent in the movie is like basically. Has superpowers ultimately. Like and in this movie, like no one gets really like superpowers. Like they if you take damage, like it really slows you down.
Yeah.
It just really feels real. And I saw an interview with Liv Tyler where and Scott Speedman where they were talking about horror movies they liked, and Liv Tyler, won my everlasting respect for saying Night of the Living Dead is her favorite. And then Scott Speedman said, or one of them, so I can't remember which, said Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and that it was because it felt so real, which is really interesting because they signed up for a movie that is like the same deal. Right?
Yeah,
this feels super real. So I really like that part. What do you think of the handheld camera being every shot?
I liked it because the whole point of the film, like one of the things I realized, the first like 20 minutes of the film was like super fucking quiet, like, and because I had to like crank my speakers up to actually hear some shit. But the handheld stuff with like the quiet beginning, and the fact that the whole film is supposed to make you feel like something's not right, like nothing is stable, either with their relationship or the situation that they're in. So making the camera sort of wobble the whole time conveys that feeling. So I'm all for the handheld shit. And it wasn't like Jason Bourne overdone. Like, what I mean? They were flipping it back and forth.
No, and I loved it. And that's a great point. I love the way you put that, because I think that's totally true that it's a question of stability, right? Because occasionally you cut outside the house and it's just from a creepy point of view. And, one of the things I really like about the handheld thing was, I was doing like this weird thought experiment I had while I was watching it because it starts like a domestic drama. It doesn't, it starts like a horror movie, but then that first part is like kind of a domestic thing between a couple. And you can see that, if the whole movie went like that with no horror, no killing, it was kind of like that 20 minutes expanded. You could see it being like a hipster couple movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I was wondering how I would feel about a movie that was a drama between couples that was handheld. And I thought I would hate it, but the way they did it, I actually really liked it, which meant that I felt like I'm like, you guys are doing this right. If I don't even mind the handheld in the quiet scenes, then you're doing it right. Because usually it bothers me. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think they really nailed it in this movie.
Yeah, the cinematography was really on point, especially the shot in the beginning where the two boys were standing and they were shooting through the hole in the windshield.
Yep.
Like everything, like the film was just shot really fucking nicely.
I put down in my notes when I was watching it that this doesn't even make any sense. I don't know why I wrote it, but I wrote down, this movie looks like flipping through a photo album of Civil War photographs. it's something about the color palette. It's like all like sepia and brown. Like,
it's funny. That was one of my, that's actually my next or third note, because we mentioned in the live last night, and I wrote my note was, I stand by what I said about the colors being kind of gross. and I mentioned that if they got rid of the technology in the film, basically at the time, like being like the 2000s, like flip cell phone stuff, if they got rid of all of that, you could completely convince me that this film took place in the 70s.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a weird House of the Devil vibe somewhere in here.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel super modern. And I don't know if it did when I first watched it when it came out in 2008. Like maybe it felt a little more timely, but it just felt like it's sort of like what It Follows did, where like you knew it was like maybe today, but then they had this like weird technology. Like I got a little bit of that.
I think it was different. I think the It Follows one is really aggressively mixing.
Yeah,
like,
that's a completely
But let me tell you why you're feeling that, because I think I have the answer, because I saw a really cool interview with the director of this movie, and he said that they had purposefully normalized the house. So they were like, they didn't want a fancy house like you see in like The Invitation or like whatever. They wanted, his quote was literally, I wanted a house that you could imagine that your brother lives in now, or something like a normal place where you feel safe, but nothing's like, whatever. So they were really subtle about it. They didn't like, they were, it was almost reverse iconic. And by doing that, they made things really, really quiet, which I think is what you're right. I mean, there's not a lot in that house that isn't generic, right? I think it's the generic thing you're picking up on, because it's hard to nail a time frame when everything's kind of like really, generically presented. So, but I thought it was really cool that they put so much thought into what the people were wearing, what the setting was. And that house was really, like, I'm telling you, one of the things I look for in a horror movie is, can you slice out like a non-dramatic shot from the movie, just a random slice from the movie, and show it to me, and would I know what I was looking at, right? So I put down my notes. If you texted me a photo or a really, really short video of the swing set outside of this house, I would know exactly what it was. It's like just two dumb swings. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh shit, that's Strangers. So that means this movie really knows how to like identify itself.
Yeah, I really liked it. I also thought the music, for the most part, did its job of being creepy, especially when the
record skipping.
The record was skipping and it kept playing that one thing over and over and over and over and over again. I really, really liked that. I thought that was a great. I'm a big sucker for atmosphere, and the music just made me. I was watching it in the morning with like a cup of coffee, and it still gave me this like unsettled feeling.
No, that was awesome. I really liked the music, and I liked the sounds when they. Spoiler: when Scott Speedman accidentally shoots his friend. That explosive gun sound made me jump. I mean, I forgot how fucking loud that is, because it's a quiet movie, and when that gun goes off, it sounds like the friggin' 4th of July.
Yeah, and well, I'll get to that here in a second. But I just wanted to say, after in the beginning, there's all like they keep banging on the door over and over again.
Yep.
And I put in my notes, I just wish after one of the times they bang on the door, it would be followed up with housekeeping. just to throw a little comedy into the.
Yeah, you wanted to bust up the tension, because they do that a lot. That's actually one of the things about the movie, is that I felt like it ran out of steam a little bit in the second half, just because it was repeating itself a little, because it was trying to be so realistic. But the killers really only have two tricks. One is lurking and staring, and the other one's banging, and maybe writing on the windows. I mean, they don't have a lot of tricks.
No. They and I could see where like critics. I've been looking at the Rotten Tomatoes critic reviews, and some Amy, whatever her last name is, from the Houston Chronicle, said at least it's short. 0 out of 5 or 0.5 out of 4.
Oh, wow.
Then this guy, Kyle Smith, New York Post, kind of what The Shining might be if you took out the ESP and the ghost and the chilling atmosphere. So call it The Sucking.
Oh my God.
What a great.
First of all, to make The Shining suck, you'd have to take 100 things out of it, not 3, idiot.
So I'm just thinking about the characters because that's and it's one of the Bob Mondello from NPR. It's a sadistic, unmotivated home invasion flick, and I'm thinking about the 3 main characters, and like I get that like if you have like a Freddy Krueger or a Jason Voorhees or any villain, like you want them to have some sort of like purpose, I guess.
No way. Like that's
okay.
The thing.
I'm not.
That's the thing, though. Is what's all right? So what's the number one complaint about crappy remakes in like franchises or icons? They gave them a backstory, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't like. I get some of the, I get some of the complaints about the lack of motivation. I thought it was brilliant in this movie. I thought it made it really eerie. And I read an article where they said that they shot a lot more interactions between the killers and Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman at the end in that end scene when they're tied to the chairs. But the director purposefully cut them out because he wanted to keep it really eerie and mysterious. And I think that's exactly right. I think he knew what he had on his hands, and he knew, like, instead of overdoing it, right? Like, so I'm fine with the lack of the backstory in this one. Like, I think that's, that's the thing is one of the things I really appreciate about this movie is I feel like if horror movies didn't exist in the world, if there were no horror movies, and I watched this, it would scare me. And I don't know that I would like it as much as I do now, but I appreciate it for avoiding a lot of the stuff that horror movies fall into the trap of doing, right? Because it avoided a lot of that. It kept it really real. It kept it really minimalistic. It didn't give you a whole backstory. Like, would I want to watch every movie like this? No.
Yeah, exactly.
But this movie was perfect for what it was. Right? Mm-hmm. So that's the thing I really like about it.
And here's the thing is, if you're going to complain about all that shit, then okay, for me, and this scene still holds up to me today. It's still like, okay, some backstory. I was watching it this morning. The scene in the kitchen when one of the invaders is in the back. It was in the background. Daisy, our my cute little cat, was in the room. I went down to go pet her because she was asking wanting attention. I looked back up. That scene was there. He was in the background, and I fucking jumped. That scene still holds up.
True.
I will fight that is one of the creepiest and most eerie fucking scene in a horror film of all time.
No, that's an instant classic scene. And the jump scare at the window when she pulls the curtain back with the knife is another one. And the because you were home is one of the best lines of horror movies delivered in the last 20 years, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's a lot of classic stuff in this movie. Like I'd fight that, no problem.
Yeah, and a lot of people were saying like this film's not suspenseful. How the fuck is that not suspenseful? Like, like this film does suspense pretty fucking well. Does it get sort of weak sauce in the second half? Yes, but undeniably that whole fucking build up and the scene when you know that they're in the house is fucking frightening.
I don't even think it gets weak sauce. I think it just dips to sort of average. But the problem is that it feels like weak sauce because the first half was so strong. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it still closes really strong. My quarrels with this movie are in how some of the specific scenes were executed. That really, really bothered me. There's the scene in the car when Scott Speedman's character goes out to retrieve his phone, and he's like rooting around in all the beer cans and cigarettes at the bottom of his car, trying to find his phone. And then this hand reaches out from the back seat and like jump scare touches him on the shoulder. And then he whips around with the knife and tries to figure out who just touched him, and the person is gone. And that's the way that scene was executed was such bullshit because the guy vanished like he was made out of smoke, or whoever was in the car vanished like they were made out of smoke. Like there was no possible exit from that car. Like I was hoping when the camera panned back, like one of the doors would be open, but like they literally, just because they wanted a spooky moment, they didn't think through how that actually would work because it was physically impossible. Like, and I don't like when horror movies do that Roadrunner shit. Like they're chasing the moment, but they break all like the laws of physics to do it.
Even after that part, you hear footsteps running away. So it wasn't like Michael Myers or Jason shit where it's like, oh, I guess
they're totally just humans, right? But like there was no like it was just it was bad. And the same thing sort of with the friend, coming to pick him up and then getting shot. Like he wanders through the house for like 5 minutes without making a sound. Like he's literally like peeking into rooms and going down the hall, like with the guy behind him, which was a great shot.
Oh, I love
the
that.
guy with the mask guy. That was a great shot.
He's chasing Glenn from or Dennis from It's Always Sunny.
Yeah, exactly. But they wanted the gunshot and justifiably so it was a great scene, But like the way to do it, they like cut the guy's vocal cords. It was just not, it's that kind of shit that sort of bothers me, like it's not like. But I mean, the movie only had a few of those compared to so much greatness that I'm not even gonna really hold it against it. It's just one of those things where I feel like, the director's choosing visual impact and throwing like the plausibility out the window, but
one thing I noticed was in horror films, there's usually at some point, like if it's like a cheeseball horror film, there's usually at some point like a half naked girl running around doing something. And in this film, I noticed with Liv Tyler, she got out of like her nightgown and then she like peeks around the corner like in her underwear and shit.
I was like, expecting the same thing.
Yeah, I was like, oh, are they like? I forgot. I was like, did they do that kind of shit? And then in this film, the female in the film actually goes back in, gets dressed, and then takes it. It wasn't doing that cheap, 80s horror fucking thing.
No, it does what a person would do. Well, I like that too, and I really like one of the things I really like is because I think the acting was great, and there's this great moment, and it's easy to miss stuff like this in a horror movie, but if the horror movie's really trying, like I give it all kind of credit, and I just want to call it out because it's a really cool thing to do. She said he proposed to her and she turned it down. Right. Mm-hmm. And the movie doesn't really dive into the why so much. Like, and as they're functioning as a team to ward off the threat, you start to even really wonder, why are they even breaking up? Like, it seems weird, right? Like they seem to be like, no one's bailing on the other one. No one, like he's trying to take care of her. He's trying to make sure she's safe. Like, so like, he's kind of redeeming himself, and you're like, but whatever. So, but there's this amazing moment where they're hunting through the house to find a gun, and they find the gun, and they get the bullets, and he's trying to assemble the gun, like to put the barrel together and like whatever. Yeah. And he looks up at her and he goes, I don't know how to do this. And he's like, I don't even know if I know how to load it. And Liv Tyler like does this amazing forehead wrinkle like of confusion, and she goes, I thought you said you went hunting with your dad all the time. And Scott Speedman looks just kind of like it's post relationship, like it doesn't matter now, right? And he goes, no, that's just something I say. And it was such a cool moment because like that is probably one of the reasons why she's not marrying this dude, is that she knows that he has, even if she doesn't know that specific thing, she knows that maybe he's not trustworthy, or maybe he's not reliable, or maybe he's full of shit. Maybe he's full of shit, like whatever. But in a horror movie, those little secrets, like you ain't got time for that. Right? You got to save your life. So I really liked the framework of a horror movie revealing like the flaws and the lies inside of the characters, And I thought it was just a really light way to portray that. And it was, and then they didn't even think about it after that. Like they got worked together, got the gun, got the bullets, and then proceeded to fuck up and make bad decisions. But it was really cool that there was this little moment between them, as like you can see that he's. Maybe this is why they don't work as a couple, or one of the reasons why. And it was such a gentle way to play that into the movie.
Exactly, because they could have very easily made it like he cheated on her or she cheated on him, and then instantly as a viewer you're like, well, I want the one who didn't cheat to live, but this way it was even. You're like, I don't want anyone to die.
Right, and there's other movies steer who you're rooting for. Right? Yes. But this movie wasn't really steering who you're rooting for.
Just to jump on the gun scene, I had 2 notes on that. I did think it was kind of funny where she was like, "Didn't your dad have a gun?" He's like, "I don't know where it is." Oh, here it is. Found it instantly. But the other thing I added is because I did like how the lie of like I've never actually went hunting came out, but I also like the fact that in a horror film, anytime someone finds a gun, they're all of a sudden like the top USA Olympic gold medal shooter. You know what I mean? Like they know how to like unload it and pull it apart. My brother, he's a deputy, and he has guns, and he lets me like he shows me the guns, like he'll unload them and shit, and I'll look at him, and then he takes it all apart, and I'm like, I don't know how the fuck to put this back together. I liked in this film, like he wasn't just like a fucking ace with the gun. You know what I mean?
And I liked that they gave him a shotgun because that meant like there was no way he was going to miss when his friend came around the corner. Because you're right. Like in other movies, if you're in like Tucker versus Dale universe, like you're throwing knives end over end and hitting people in center of forehead from like 500 feet away. Yeah, like even though you've never done it before, like. But in this one, like if they'd given him a pistol. And he hit him like direct shot at it, whatever. But they were like, "No, we'll give him a shotgun. He can't miss."
I know that was my note to that. Is Dennis from It's Always Sunny got?
That was brutal, man. That was really. I think that I just want to give a shout out in terms of Liv Tyler is one hell of a screamer, dude. She scared the shit out of my dogs when I was watching this movie, and I read that she would prep for scenes by they would tell her like 2 minutes before, and then she would literally like run around the house a couple times, like do push-ups, like really just kind of rattle herself and try to get herself really off kilter, so that it felt like her panic would feel real, you know what I mean? And there's like that scream she did in the jump scare screen at the window, and then the other scream inside the closet when they fuck with her and the masked dude walks away and the girl with the mask like jumps into the slats of the closet and she screams like, holy shit. I mean, that is like 1,000% authentic. I felt like she was actually getting killed.
She really knocked it out of the park. What I like about this film is, and this is probably one of the main reasons I don't get the criticism for it, and I'm trying to make sure I'm not coming at this as a fanboy from like when I saw it. But even then, it doesn't matter. I really believe, because a lot of people hate jump scares. Like, whenever a horror movie has a bunch of jump scares, they go, oh, it's just a bunch of, cheap thrills and all that shit.
Yep.
I think this movie genuinely earns its jump scares.
Totally agree.
Like, are there a few that are kind of just like, in your face, I don't know where? Yeah, but that's fine. I don't give a shit. But for the big moments, for the big fucking moments, like that film earned every single one of those.
Yeah, and I'm telling you that I forgot how that movie ended because I saw it in 2008 and haven't rewatched it.
Yeah.
And when she grabbed that little kid at the end and screamed and the movie cut out, like that got me. Like that is fucked up. And it was really well done. And you look at a jump scare at the end of like the original Carrie or whatever. I mean, that is such a manipulative bullshit jump scare because that really didn't happen. It's like a dream, right?
Yeah.
This was like a real thing, and it was ambiguous whether she was actually alive or not. Even at the end of the movie, which was I like that. I think that's really unsettling. Like, I think that that's a good, thing. A lot of people complain about like, oh, what is that like? Is she alive or is she not alive? Whatever. But I think you're 1,000% right. I think the jump scares were like, there weren't that many, but the ones that were there, they totally earned those for sure. I
really liked it. And my last thing I had about the film was, and this is just me comparing it to something else, was I don't know if you've watched the gameplay of Bioshock, but the three villains almost feel like some of the grunts you'd kill in the original that you just run past because they just have this like dirty, I'm gonna kill you in some kind of grotesque way. And it just channeled like the especially the beginning of the first Bioshock game. It just feels like those are the few you encounter while learning how to use your pistol, which I like because I like the design of all that.
I really liked there was the scene before Liv Tyler corners herself in the closet. She's kind of lurking around the house, and the masked dude walks into the room and doesn't see her, ostensibly. At least he's pretending not to see her, right? And she's standing like literally 8 feet behind him, and he's just kind of wandering down the hall. And it's so cool that they flipped it, because that was what it was in the kitchen for her. Like, he was watching her, and she didn't know that he was there. And then they flipped it, and she's watching him, and he doesn't know she's there. You know what I mean? And I like that the movie was, careful enough to be like playing those notes. You know what I mean? It wasn't just like trying to hit 2 notes. It was like keeping track of what it was doing and trying to like toy with it a little. And I love I think my favorite scene that I didn't remember was when at the end, when he knocks her out, the masked guy knocks her out of the hallway and then drags her. That dragging scene is relentless.
Yeah.
That is relentless, dude. And it's so well played, and it feels so real. And then it cuts to the sun. It's too bright. Like, with the scene where they're tied to the chairs and everyone's taking off their masks, and it's like daylight outside. And the movie's been so dark and so Civil War photograph up to now, right? And then to have all this brightness and have it do no one any good. Because that's the thing in a horror movie, right? Like, just make it the day, right? Like, what's that movie, the Night of the Demons remake, I think it is, where you just make it to the daytime and then you walk out all proud of yourself that you made it, like whatever. Like, they make it to the day, but
Hell Night.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Doesn't do a damn bit of good, right? So I really liked that the movie sort of subverted that too. So
I love the shot of the house outside in the daylight when inside out.
It's so great, and the way they're cutting it, like they're inside, like begging for their lives and screaming, and they're cutting out, and you don't hear any sound out. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's the thing, is your house has become like everything about your house that's supposed to protect you is working against you now, right? Yeah. No one can see into it to see what's happening. No one can hear you calling for help. Like the very structure that you're supposed to be counting on for your safety is now totally not on your side. And that's like the most terrifying thing about this movie. And I think that's fucking fantastic. What did you think of the little outro with them driving away in the truck and coming across the kids and stopping and getting the pamphlet?
I liked it. I didn't think, I mean, I could see where some people probably think it's like a little cheesy or something. But I mean, clearly these 3 people are like fucked up. And it just, I mean, it's sort of like if like the Joker wasn't like as like theatrical and showy, like, because if this movie was like the Joker killing some random people would probably be like, this is a great movie. I really like it. He's so unpredictable. But when it's just like 3 people like quiet doing it, all of a sudden it's like not good. If that makes sense.
I actually really liked it. One of the things I really liked about it was that those kids were creepy. I don't know if it's just me, but like they were walking their bikes, which I don't even know what the fuck you have a bike for then. And they were kind of like Children of the Corn looking to me, and they were pretty creepy. And then when the killer asks for the pamphlet, the kid's like, "Are you a sinner? Like why? Are you going to charge me if I'm not a sinner? Like, what? I asked for a fucking pamphlet. You're out here giving out pamphlets. Like, what's your fucking the fact that he's asking that, the whole thing was just like whatever, and it kind of expanded the weirdness a little bit. Like, maybe this place where this house is in this remote area, maybe this is a weird area. Maybe the people here are not like that normal. Maybe that's why these killers, got so fucked up living here. Like, maybe everything here is a little off. You know what I mean? Like, I thought it was really cool. And it gave him a chance to do that great line where the killers turn to each other and say, it'll be easier next time, which is horrifying. Right. So yeah, I think cheese factor, like 2 out of 10, but I actually really, really liked the way it ended.
I really liked it. I think I knew where I was going with that whole Joker bit. It feels like, okay, I know where I was going with that. If if everything in Gotham that was fucked up happened in like the Midwest.
Exactly.
The only thing is Batman never showed up to save these people.
No,
it makes sense in my head. Maybe I'll explain it more later, but that's how
he sure as hell didn't. So score one for a horror movie that is, my last thing on this is score one for a horror movie that's super scary, because we need more scary movies. And I just saw an interview like a month ago with Kurt Russell. I think he was doing it with like James Corden. And James Corden asked him like what movie like really scares you. I mean, this is fucking Kurt Russell, right? So like, and he was like, The Strangers is the movie that it scares me. It scares me as much when I watch it now as it did when I first watched it. So like, if you're scaring the shit out of Kurt Russell, you're doing your job.
Yeah. I don't even care what people from NPR or some of the other places say. Kurt Russell fucking likes it. So there you go. Where'd you score it?
All right. So, by the way, just to mention, I watched the unrated version. I don't know which version you watched, but I think there's a lot of disappointment among the movie fans because there's almost no difference between the two. Yeah. All right, so it's at 45 on Rotten Tomatoes. I get some of the criticism of it, but it kept itself the perfect length. It did its job. Like, fuck, man, I want to say like 79. Isn't 79 a cop out? Fucking 80.
Oh my god! I was gonna say 80.
I'd say it's a bitch. 80% movie. That's how I feel about it.
We did not agree, so we didn't tell each other where we were going to rate it.
No, we never.
I knew in my gut that this is an 80% film because it knew exactly what it is, what it wanted to do, and then fucking dropped the mic and left. Strangers 2 doesn't count, but it does. It does know what it is.
And you know, the thing is, I would put The Monster at like 85, 88. So like, this is a director that's like growing. You know,
yeah. So and I looked up Scott Speedsman, who was the
guy. He's the dude from Underworld.
No, he's also in Monster. I didn't know.
Yeah, totally.
So I gotta check that one out too. So yeah, 80%, easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Yeah,
that's all she wrote for The Strangers. Love the movie.
Yeah, but let us know on our Facebook page. Message us, post to the page, whatever you want to do. Tell us how you feel about the movie, where you would rate it. And if you think that it should be lower, let us know too. We have open minds. We have open minds for the public. It's film critics that we have an axe to grind.
And that's the whole reason for Hollow Weeklies. Let the whole community be heard. And if you like this episode and you want to hear more of it, consider heading over to our Patreon page and pledging a donation so we can make more killer content just like this. Being a little bit easier.
It helps us grow the show, and we're pretty excited that there's the bonus content library there is going to grow. We've got some really exciting stuff coming up. Because we're enmeshed in the How Low Can We Go series, we haven't been able to review new movies and make them as podcast episodes the usual length. So we're going to be putting spoiler-free mini episodes that are our take on like new movies, and we're definitely going to have Annabelle Creation coming up there before that movie releases, and a few more. So if you support us on Patreon, you get exclusive access to those episodes, which is going to be fun.
And it makes you look like a way cooler horror fan. When you're with your friends, who are like, I'm a bigger horror fan than you can be like, oh yeah, well, I'm a patron for Hollow Weekly, and they'll be like, fuck, dude, you're so cool.
That's right.
I guarantee that's how that conversation will go. So until next time, watch a whole bunch of movies and stay scary.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.